I got broads in Atlanta. Just to lean the family. Credit card.
Hi, this is me Ferdy today. Hey guys, mabuhay. This is me Ferdy. I'm back again. Today, I'm gonna be reacting to Geography Now, Philippines. I'm gonna get to know a little bit more about the Philippines, and yeah, let's just get started and watch this. We don't have to waste too much time. Let's go.
The Philippines is like the
Wait.
If you don't know anything about Asia, the Philippines is like the jolliest of them all. They're just happy, fun, jolly people. And you know what? It's been 3
Ah shit, there's no captions. I know like I can understand English, but sometimes this dude like speaks so fast that I cannot like sometimes like get things, especially names, you know, places and stuff. But anyway, I'm just gonna
years.
enjoy
I'm not
this.
taking this anymore. I've been pushed around, I've been threatened, I've been
Oh,
they're just
that's the
happy,
Philippines.
fun, jolly people. And you know what? It's been 3 years. I'm not taking this anymore. I've been pushed around, I've been threatened, I've been thrown in the dungeon, I've been the butt of all the jokes. I'm the Filipino one. This is my time. My time! Ah!
Oh, okay.
Welcome to the Philippines. My turn.
So cute. So cute.
It's time to learn geography now. Hey everyone, I'm Ken, and as you know, I'm half Filipino. Years ago, I was looking for a job, and I saw this ad asking for a motion graphics animator on Craigslist. Paul and I literally met up at a Jollibee.
Oh my gosh, Jollibee!
He said
I want to
was
try
top
that.
3 candidates. In reality, there were only 3 candidates that applied, so technically I didn't lie, but yeah, the other 2 people kind of suck, so yeah. Oh, and back then I had this weird mustache, and Paul's hair was.
Oh, he looks so
Ken
different.
and I have been talking for a long
He
time.
looks so
and we
different.
can definitely ask me in this episode. If you've come so far from that Craigslist Jollibee interview, you've heard of this. Thanks. Handa na? Magsimula.
Maxipula.
The Philippines is an interesting country because there's sort of a dichotomy between labels. If you ask a Filipino if they consider themselves Asian or Pacific Islanders, you might get contrasting answers. What do you consider yourself, Ken? I always thought Pacific Islanders sounded kind of cool, so I usually stuck with that. So first of all, the Philippines is a tropical archipelago of over 7,000 islands.
Exactly. That's the only thing I know about the Philippines. Sorry. Yeah, I don't like it. It has. Oh my gosh, I wish you can visit all of those.
Without any land borders or shared island territory with another nation. The country is located in Southeast Asia, straddling the Philippine Sea in the north, the South China Sea in the west, and the Sulu and Celebes Sea in the south. Just to skip away lies the island of Borneo, which is split amongst 3 nations. The closest point only about 22 miles or 40 kilometers away from the nearest island that belongs to the Philippines. Now, in general, many people will refer to one of the 3 main island cluster regions that people are a part of. There are Luzon in the north, where you can find the capital Manila, and where the population lives, Visaya in the center, and Mindanao in the south. Otherwise, the nation is made up of 17 regions, one of which is autonomous, the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao. This place has a high level of self-rule and autonomy appointed by the government. We'll explain more about this later. If you want to be absolutely technical, Quezon City, a bit north of Manila, is the largest city in the Philippines. However, the surrounding 16 towns and cities by Manila are called Manila Metro, or the National Capital Region, and they basically act as one unit. Otherwise, the largest city outside of the NCR are Davao City in Mindanao and Cebu in the Visayas. Manila has the largest and busiest airport, Ninoy Aquino International Airport, which is basically the hub that services the entire NCR. They also have the busiest shipping port at the Port of Manila. Otherwise, the second largest airport is Cebu Mactan International, and rounding out for third place is Davao City Francisco Bangoy International. In terms of land transport, though, the Philippines is well connected amongst the islands. In fact, the longest highway is the Pan-Philippine Highway that stretches about 3,500 kilometers across the country and connects Luzon, Samar, Liet, and Mindanao with underground tunnels connecting them. Finally,
That's
the Philippines has 2
cool.
territorial disputes. The state of Sabah in Malaysia.
Probably you can like travel all that like
Part of the Sultanate of
time.
Sulu, a Muslim state that existed the 15th century to the 20th century, and that's a whole other story.
I've never heard
As
of
for
that.
the other dispute, as we mentioned quite a few times already, this whole area known as the Spratly Islands is a complete mess. If you don't know anything about this place, it basically goes like this.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. This is the map showing what everyone claims in the area. This big one right here is China's. Like, yeah, they just kind of pretty much went for all of it. This has even led to a few skirmishes between nations that have built patrol stations on the island. And when they spot a ship that gets too close, things can get kind of ugly. It's kind of like this. Hey, what are you doing? This is my area. I'm just doing some mission research here, you know. Why do you have a shovel then? Are you building something? Well, things.
Oh. They're handy. Why?
The Lapu-Lapu Shrine, the Neta Park, MacArthur Landing Site, Banawi Rice Terrace,
Oh, pretty.
Malacanang Palace. Bigan has many historical and colonial buildings. The various national museums of history and arts, tons of amusement parks, and that's not even including all the natural wonders of the
I wanna
Philippines.
go there.
They have an underground river, the most amazing, beautiful beaches
Princesa.
in the
It's
universe.
called
Those that
cute.
look like lumps of chocolate. And there's an island in a lake,
Chocolate
and an island in a lake,
toes.
in an island. We should hang out sometime. Yeah, when you have 7,000 tropical islands on a volcanic archipelago, chances are things can get pretty crazy landscape-wise. Which brings us to the
Physical
natural
thing?
peaceful land of the Philippines is the biggest treasure you will find here for sure. Anyway, the Philippines lies on the Ring of Fire and is specifically on the tectonic plate named after.
Oh my god, the Ring of Fire.
About 95% of the land is made up of the 11
That's
largest
crazy.
islands. The country was essentially formed through the tectonic activity between the Philippines, Manila, and the Mindanao Trench, the Mindanao being the second deepest in the world. This makes the country susceptible to small earthquakes and minor volcanic activity. About 53 active volcanoes can be found in all of these largest
Shoot.
islands, except for Palawan. The most famous and picturesque of these include these three. See this island here, Camiguin? It actually has more volcanoes than towns on it, 7 versus 5, making it the place with the most number of volcanoes per square kilometer in the world. In fact, the tallest peak in the Philippines is a potentially active volcano, Mount Apo, located in the South Mindanao area. The country has numerous mountain ranges and highlands that dip into the fertile valleys, the largest range being the Cordillera Range in the North Luzon area, hooking into the Sierra Madre Range on the east side, which feeds the longest river of the country, the Cagayan, that flows into the Cagayan Valley. This valley
It's hard to memorize like the names or remember them. I cannot. Like now I can hear that. Oh, okay.
Sugarcane, whereas Mindanao specializes heavy in coconut and fruit production. Back in the summer, you can find the
Coconut.
largest lake in the country, Lake Laguna Dabay, which is actually in the caldera of the
Laguna.
dormant volcano. The lake has a weird detached island called Talim and is actually drained by the Pasig River that flows through the capital, Manila. And finally, the country is the heart of typhoon territory. They can come at almost any time of the year. The nation will experience on average about 20 of the turbulent storms annually, which often flood
It
river
sucks.
systems. But yeah, if anything, Filipinos are the most cyclone-adapted people. They're used to it.
Oh,
Water has always been kind of their thing. Swimming, sailing, fishing, just not exactly quite diving.
Oh no.
Otherwise, the Philippines is one of the 17 mega-diverse nations on Earth. They actually have the largest level of marine biodiversity in the world within their waters and the highest rate of animals.
That's so cute.
On the planet, there's 16 new mammal species that were discovered in the past decade alone. They have everything from the longest snake in the world, the reticulated python, the largest fish in the world, whale sharks. 7 of the 8 known species of giant clam are found in the Philippines. The world's smallest hoofed animal, the Philippine mouse deer, and their national bird is the largest eagle in the world. Economically speaking, the Philippines is considered a newly industrialized nation. It is transitioning out of becoming an agricultural-based system to a service and manufacturing-based one. They have
Okay.
like 3 of the top 10 largest malls on Earth. Ooh, just you wait, I'm taking the top spots. They're one of the fastest growing economies in Asia and as the 34th largest economy in the world, their GDP purchasing power parity has surpassed the $2 trillion mark. Basically, the Philippines is definitely becoming a key power player in the world stage. It's like someday. For what it's worth though, mining, fishing, and
Those
agriculture are
hope.
strong industries. They are currently the world's largest nickel and abaca or Manila hemp producers and
Oh.
the second largest coconut producer
Oh.
after Indonesia.
I feel bad for that.
Important industry, taking up about 8% of their
Oh my
GDP,
God.
employing over 3 million people.
This is like where I wanna
Now, in the
live.
Philippines, every
Not
region
only
has their
just,
own
like,
specialty
visit.
and culinary strange. Yeah, every dish looks like a fairy exploded. Lots of dishes you can eat kumakain kamay or eat with your hands. Yeah, pretty much everything has rice.
Yeah, we
vinegar,
eat
a
like
lot of
with our
grease
hands
and
as
salt,
well here.
vinegar, and a lot of like, I don't
It
care
depends.
if that looks like it goes there or not, I'm still gonna eat it anyway. Right, Ken? Yeah, that's Filipino food. Yeah. There's really no official national dish, but 3
Oh,
meals
okay.
that are well known for are adobo, lumpia, and sinigang. And in the non-Muslim parts, lechon is a huge deal.
Oh, no.
There are also dishes like Tagalog steak,
I don't eat
tinola,
pork.
pansit luglug, kare-kare, sixty, tapsilo, balut, kinilaw, and my favorite Filipino
They've
dish,
got cute
palabok.
names.
Puts a nice little lemon juice on it. I actually got this at Jollibee. If you don't know what Jollibee is, it's like the most popular fast food chain in the Philippines. It's like if McDonald's and KFC adopted a Filipino baby.
Thank you for
made
letting me
that
know. I wanna visit that. I wanna
Otherwise,
eat food
Filipinos
from
are
the
dessert
Philippines.
experts.
From
They love
Jollibee.
their ube. Ube everything. Ube ice cream. Ube bread. Ube pie. Ube cakes. Oh, they also have like sabin and cassava cakes. Those are the best desserts in my opinion. They also have halo-halo, leche flan, turon, buko, pandan, and puto. What you call me? If you're either Latin American or Spanish, you may know the same those foods are also found in
Okay.
Latin. shoulders, and I will conquer the world. Yeah, for some reason, Filipinos are like the best friends of Asia. Filipinos still have the best attitudes and smiles. They even give time off felony sentences if the prisoners volunteer to take part in a Michael Jackson dance performance to the public. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. First, the graph. The country is about 110 billion people and is the 8th most populated country in Asia and the 12th most populated country in the world. There are about 175 ethno-linguistic people groups in the Philippines, the majority of whose languages are Austronesian. Of these groups, the largest ones are the Tagalog at about 28%, 13% are Cebuano, 9% are Ilocano,
I call it Tagalog.
The rest are made up of other groups, plus a small minority of non-native citizens, mostly Asians and Americans.
Tagalog.
It's important to note
Tagalog.
that the Philippines has about 10.2 million people overseas worldwide. It is one of the largest diaspora populations spanning over 100 countries. The U.S. alone has about 4 million. I mean, they were at one point colonized by the U.S., so go figure. They use the Filipino peso as their currency, they use the types A, B, and C plug outlets, and they drive on the right side of the road. Oh, and keep in mind the word Pinoy is synonymous with something that is Filipino. You might see that used a lot. Now back to the ethnic groups thing. Since there are
Pinoy singer. Pinoy.
Like, well, the Philippines has two official languages. English, which makes it the 5th most English-speaking nation on earth, and Filipino, which is the standardized version of Tagalog. The Philippine Tagalog language spoken today is very different from pure Tagalog. It actually has about 14% Spanish, 10% Malay, and 7% English mixed into it with a slew of other borrowed loanwords. You can see the influence of words like ventilador, guapo, zapatos, and pamilya. Often Filipinos
Spanish
will
words,
substitute
okay.
an F with a P, or a P with a P, or a V with a P. Yeah, same like Koreans actually.
Yeah.
High five with minimal consonants. Yay! Oh, and fun fact, Ken taught me this. In Tagalog, you can actually say an entire conversation just using the syllable ba. For example, ba, 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 ba. Well, that was fun.
Okay. That was crazy. Okay. Ba.
They even have the only Spanish-based Creole in Asia, Chabacano, located in Zamboanga City. Now, the Philippines is unique in that over the past few centuries, they've gone through 3 periods that shaped their identity. Before European intervention, the Philippines has had a multitude of early civilizations that built kingdoms and dynasties like the Tondo, Namayan, the Pangasinan, and the Sulu Sultanate. Many of these kingdoms had their own indigenous writing systems, such as the Babayan, Buhi, Eskaya, and Kulita. Genetically, Filipinos are classified as belonging to the broader Austronesian people group, with their closest cousins being the Micronesians, like the Mariana Islanders, Guam, and Palau. Although over the years, many people have mixed, and today it is speculated that somewhere around 1/5 or more of the population may have some kind of Chinese ancestry. After the Spanish came in, they adopted many of the customs, traditions, and cultural traits which have Spanish roots. Their own country is named after Spanish King Philip. The biggest trait, though, would be the fact that they are predominantly Catholic, at about 81% of the population adhering to the faith. The rest are mostly Protestant, with a small Muslim minority in the South Mindanao area. The Philippines is the largest Christian nation in Asia, 5th largest Christian nation on earth, and 3rd largest Catholic nation
I
after
know
Brazil and
that.
Mexico. They have so many holidays and festivals devoted to Catholic themes, like All Saints Day, Holy Week, and Easter, and of course, the largest one, Christmas. The Philippines has the longest Christmas season out of anywhere else on earth. Okay, so now we're just gonna rapid fire a list of 12 fun cultural facts for the Philippines. Filipinos have a ton of superstitions. For example, whistling at night will turn you into a werewolf. For formal occasions, you may see Filipinos wearing traditional barongs for men and Maria
Oh, so pretty.
dresses for women.
Oh.
There are many other traditional costumes and customs for the other 170 ethnic groups. Too many to cover, but it goes everywhere, from feathers, coconut fibers, hairdresses, tribal tattoos, and so on. Speaking of which, the Philippines dominates major international beauty pageants with a grand total of 15 victories at the Miss Universe,
I know it.
National Miss Earth competitions. Basketball and boxing are the most popular sport by far. They have the oldest basketball league in Asia and the 2nd oldest in the world after the United States. And come on, we all know Pacquiao. The Philippines is the leading
I know him by
nation
face, but I don't know his
nurses
name.
abroad. It's been said at one point, every Filipino has their "should I just drop everything and become a nurse" moment in their life crisis. That's a fact.
Okay.
I've had those. And the word balikbayan means returner or returning family. It is used when someone comes back from expat work abroad.
Balikbayan.
You might hear the honorific title of po or popo for elders, and a lot of people often raise the backs of the hands of their elders to their forehead as a sign of respect and saying
That's cute.
In the Philippines, you have your
Here
name
we
and you have your Pinoy
kiss
name.
the
And they
hands
get really
of like
weird if
elders,
you have
parents, or
Bingo,
whatever, like someone like
Pinky,
you respect
Bamba,
them.
and Earl. Every Filipino on every island in every region can tell you Filipinos are obsessed with karaoke. The first karaoke
They
was
are
invented
great at
by
singing.
Roberto Del
Then why not?
Even though some Japanese do invent it.
I mean,
Patented
like
it.
I've never seen a Filipino guy or like a Filipina who cannot sing. Yeah, like I don't know. Like of course they would be, but like they've got crazy amazing
In
voices.
addition, there are many different styles of dance, but the most famous one considered the national dance is tinikling, a dance that features two pairs of perpendicular bamboo poles that are clapped together as
That's
percussion tools,
cool.
and the dancers must weave their feet in and out in the spaces without getting hit or tripped. Now, on a
That's
more objective note, we
crazy.
do have to talk about some of the controversies. The Philippines is beautiful, but if you've been keeping up with current events, they do have their fair share of issues that have made headlines. We don't sugarcoat everything here. Human trafficking, whether in the sex industry, slavery, or organ smuggling, has been a problem in certain areas. And even though anti-trafficking acts have been passed by the government, enforcement has not always been on par. Drug trade has also been a major inconvenience for decades, affecting millions of people in the country. This has led to the new controversial laws instituted by President Duarte, which encouraged the public to seek bounty in exchange for hunting down drug pushers. Many have died in the process. And finally, you have the Moro conflict, an insurgency in the predominantly Muslim Mindanao region, which sought to take parts of eastern Malaysia and break away through conflict. The fight has been going on for nearly half a century, and now it's just ending at the turn of the 21st century.
Okay.
For what it's worth, though, in the Philippines, everyone is family at the end. You don't have to be related to anyone to call someone ate or kuya. There's even a word,
Kuya.
bayanihan, which means something like helping one another through community spirit without expecting
Bayanihan.
anything in return. In any case, we gotta finish off this segment with history.
Oh, I thought like, oh,
Kingdoms
okay.
and sultanates. This guy came to the islands. Catholicism comes in. Lapu-Lapu and Magellan dies in battle. 5 Spanish dudes follow through. They finally become a colony of Spain. The galleon
Yeah.
trade. British Philippines. And then back to Spain. The Treaty of Paris. Philippine Revolution. The Spanish-American War. First Philippine Republic. Philippine-American War. American occupation. World War II, Japan invades. American
Oh
US
shoot,
independence.
they've gone through a lot.
Philippine independence. Ferdinand Marcos turned from president to dictator. Martial law. This guy gets killed because he was against the regime. People Power Revolution in 1986. Growth from agricultural
happens.
society to an industrial one. And here we are today. And now we finish off with the notable famous people condensed. Some famous people you guys, the Pinoy geography suggested we mention in this episode include Lapu-Lapu, Jose Rizal, these 2 saints, Melchora Aquino, Manuel L. Quezon, Lacan Dura, Josefa Yanes Escoda, and Vicente Lim, Carlos Peña Romulo, and all the Miss Universe winners. And there's a ton of Americans with Filipino
Bruno Mars.
Yeah, you can see the class of American
Bruno
Filipinos.
Mars. It's
We'll
so
explain more on
amazing.
how that happened in...
Praise
Because
God.
of the long history of the Philippines being colonized by 2 major Western powerhouses,
Mhm.
it would make sense that it would have ties with the outside world in many different ways. For
Okay.
friends, the Philippines is generally close with all the ASEAN nations and does great business with them, particularly Indonesia and Malaysia, their closest neighbors. The Marshall Islands, Palau, and the federal states of Micronesia are all cousin countries, many of which have Filipino migrants in them, and they all share the same history of being former U.S. territories and U.S.-influenced states. Of course, Spain will always be in the back of their minds as the former colonizer that they gained much influence from. Although Filipinos are not considered Latino, the Spanish and many Latin Americans kind of see them as like the adopted Asians that totally fit in their family. It's like, come on, you're Catholic, you eat flan, every 5th word you speak is Spanish, you're
Flan.
basically one of us. Interestingly enough, the relationship with
I
Mexico
don't really
has
use that word
historically
in
been always
English.
strong. The
I say it like
Philippines
in
was
French,
ruled under a
flan.
Mexico-based viceroyalty of New Spain. The Manila galleons were Spanish trading ships, which for 2.5 centuries linked the Philippines with Mexico across the Pacific Ocean, making 1 or 2 round-trip voyages per year between the ports of Acapulco and Manila. And Mexican traditions were brought in, like the Day of the Dead and Chaparral. When it comes to their best friends, however, most
Dia
Filipinos
de
would
los
probably say, even
Muertos.
though colonial years were a little bit bumpy, ultimately the USA and South Korea. South Korea was one of their closest best friends from the 20th century on. World War II really bonded with them after the Japanese occupation years, and
Okay.
they supported each other diplomatically. Koreans are the top #1 tourist demographic that visit the Philippines. Koreans kind of admire the fact that even though they were both influenced by the U.S., Filipinos speak better English, whereas Filipinos practically obsess over Korean products and media. On us. That's why
So
For the USA,
cute.
ties were close ever since they became their colony in 1898. The U.S. also had the largest number of overseas Filipinos at over 4 million, most of whom live on the West Coast states like Hawaii and California. They are one of the oldest Asian partners of the U.S. They have a mutual defense treaty, and they are the largest export partner and second largest import after China.
After China. So,
Hollywood studios love filming there, and Gallup polls have shown that the USA is favored on average by over 90% of the people asked, making it one of the most pro-American countries on the planet. And Ken, you take the conclusion. In conclusion, if you enter a room full of Asians, you definitely know who the Filipinos are. While everyone's so uptight, we're the ones singing karaoke and somersaulting. You can just feel the energy of a Filipino. There's a touch of Latin flavor
I mean,
with
like,
pop undertones. But in the
you
end,
can
no matter what
guess.
island,
Like,
immediately
I can
consider
see like sometimes Filipino people in my country, and like I can guess that they're from the Philippines.
Thanks. Stay tuned. Holic
And I've never
is coming
gone.
up next.
in that, like, except like some others, they don't really look like that. But like, I don't know if it's a kind of stereotype thing, but I don't know, like when you watch probably a lot of Asian things in general, you start to differentiate. Like when you look at someone, you would be like, oh, he looks like a Korean, he looks like a Japanese, he looks like a Filipino, Indonesian. Malaysian and Indonesian for me, like they look the same. And yeah, so you start to differentiate a little bit, like between Asians. For some others, everyone that belongs to Asia is called the Chinese, like, and I'm like, dude, like the fuck. Anyway, but that was a really great episode. I really got to know a lot of things about the Philippines. Philippines is a really amazing country that I also want to visit. I mean, I really want to visit any country in Asia. Like, it's just amazing. And I got like friends from the Philippines that they're really amazing. They're really nice. They're really cool. And yeah, so I've enjoyed this. I got to learn a lot. And even though like I cannot of course remember like the names of like cities or things that happened for real, but like of course I got to know things anyway, and I learned a lot of things. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed it, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to comment, like, share and subscribe for more videos. See you guys soon. Bye.